Hey, we are at the National Historic Cheesemaking Center in Monroe. Couldn't have you guys come visit us without meeting Donna Douglas, the executive director. She runs this place. She is the grande dame of cheese and everything related. So we're gonna go meet Donna.
Come on in. Hi, Donna.
Donna.
Yes. And
This is
My name's Corey Kaiser. Nice to meet you.
And I'm Donna Douglas.
And this is Trent Pickle. He's my little helper.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah, we're just visiting. She said this is the spot to come, and you're the person to meet. So.
Well, great. All right. Thank you. And, so I'll give you the tour, a short tour, and
Cool.
this is our welcome center. As you can see, we're a restored railroad depot, and it was moved here about 28 years ago. And we put a foundation under it, and this became our welcome center, and then the rest of it is our National Historic Cheesemaking Center.
I love cheese, so I'm excited.
Good. So, well, we don't make cheese, but we
Yeah,
show
but
you the history.
you have the history here.
Yeah, and would you sign our guest book, please?
Absolutely.
Before we get in, we're only open Thursday, Friday, and Thursday through Sunday now.
So he's getting a private
From 10 till
showing.
3, yeah. So anyway, but we have had, with everything in place, we've had people from 31 states and Peru, Brazil, and Ethiopia. But I fudged a little on Ethiopia because they've been here a year. So,
Oh, okay.
But they were very interesting, and I said, "Where are you from?" So come on in.
Okay.
Okay, so this heritage room, we have a lot of our memorabilia that we rotate because we have an archives room and people keep bringing us things. So when the Swiss first came here, they thought they were going to raise wheat. But the cinch bug soon wiped out their crop, and it depleted the soil was depleted. So bringing cows from the east, they were milking cows, and it ended up that we had about 300 cheese factories on every corner because of the refrigeration and the the transportation. So anyway, it evolved into us being the Swiss cheese capital of the United States, and now we have champion cheese that won the world contest with Emmy Roth.
Which is spectacular. That's wild.
And every 2 years we have cheese days, and it brings about 100,000 people to the downtown square, which you've probably already seen, being up there with Melissa.
So is that just the whole square?
Yep.
They just block it all off?
Yeah, and we shuttle them from out here, from different parking lots downtown, and there's about 100,000 people, right,
awesome.
Melissa?
It's like Urban Pass.
Yeah. That sounds awesome.
Anyway, that's what we're famous for.
Okay.
And before, I just want to show you one thing. There's a reason that we are financially sound out here. We have 37. They're sustaining corporate partners, and they actually support us to a dollar amount every year after year, ever since we've had people come and go, and some of the business have gone out, but these are the regulars, and so financially they're the ones that and it's dairy, it's actually cheese factories, but some of them are just suppliers of dairy products and things. So anyway, back to our tour. But I did want you to see that because it's important. And you won't recognize all of these are the pioneers, but I'm going to point out that Ray Kugley, have you heard of Swiss Colony and the Colony brands?
Yep.
Okay, in 1926, Ray Kugley was going to University of Wisconsin.
Okay.
And one of his professors said, you come from cheese country, you should be slicing it up or packaging it up and shipping it out of Greene County. Well, guess what? The first year he got 50 orders, and he fulfilled those orders in his aunt's basement, which is a home in Monroe. Okay, come on over here and I'll show you what happened. Today, this company is probably over $1 billion in sales, and they have their bakery, they have actually acquired other companies. You'll see there's about 13 bricks out there, and they also have their own SC Aviation. But I need to tell you that they are very community minded because they support, they have concerts on the square, they support the school system. I think they gave $450,000 to the middle school
That is
for
so
their,
awesome.
yeah, for their what you call it, their tablets. Melissa, help me.
I'm sorry.
iPads or?
Their iPad.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
no
you.
problem.
I have 3 things in, and they also have they funded a second language instructor in the school was in Spanish, right?
Yep.
Okay, so, but that's not all, because they're always giving something to, and supporting the community. And at the end of the year, all of us nonprofits are called in and we receive a check at the end of the year, and they have an employees fund that they can contribute so much, and then at the end of the year, they can decide which percentage goes to the different.
So they're like the most giving people in the world.
They are.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And,
That's awesome.
And and I'll tell you, I worked there 5 years, just seasonal, and I was in the office, and they would come over from, they would have a buffet on Fridays, and the ones from the head office would come over and eat with us. So, and at Christmas time, we decorated our whole
Yeah.
so we got prizes. So when when we do give tours, we have 2 videos we show. This is the way cheese is made today, and that goes continuously, but we do have another one that's a little older. Plus that, I hope we got time to just peek in the little factory down there, because that's one is our little gem. This, I won't spend so much time. First I want to start over here on this side. We have pictures of some of our master cheesemakers, and in Wisconsin, we are the only state that has a 3-year program that the cheesemakers can go into, and they have to take a 60-hour test, and they can get 2 designations in different types of cheese and at a time. So Bruce Workman from up at Monticello, he probably has the most designations. I think he's on his 11th or 12th one.
Wow.
But all of these, and this is a beautiful, his factory now, all of the equipment he had brought in, and even if you see the old way we turn cheese, Swiss cheese, his is automated now. So, and we have we have pictures of the world champion, and the U.S. champion is just the opposite year of the world champion cheese. So I have to point out these 3 gentlemen right here. They have one of the largest factories in the United States that manufacture feta cheese, but they make also, and they distribute it, but they also make any type of cheese that the consumer demands. So this is Steve Buchholzer, Ron, and Dave Buchholzer, and they have, and this is Adam, and Adam is also the one I think that's in charge of the Odyssey brand yogurt, and that is, it's the best yogurt you ever tasted. They also serve that up at the University of Wisconsin in their cafeteria. So these individuals, these 3 individuals, most of our factories were co-ops, but this one is, this is their factory. This is what the great-grandparents started with years ago. It's still on the property out there going towards Argyle on Highway 81. But this is their factory today, and it just keeps building and building.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And so these 3 gentlemen own it. It's not a co-op, but they use local milk and the bank, they said. Ron said, us and the bank own it, but they have 6 master cheesemakers in there. And this is just this is all the factories. We have numbers, and we can cross-reference them with the names of the factories, who the cheesemakers were, but now we're down to 12 mega factories. These
wow.
Yeah, so but
they are everywhere.
Yep. Well, the most of them have ended up being residences, and we have a lot of pictures in but because of different things with the fluid milk coming in, and sometimes the quality of the water, the state shut people down. Then there were a few of them that probably got to drinking their own homemade wine, and it affected their brains, so it affected the way they made cheese too, right? So I shouldn't say that. But. And then this is the book that we put out so that we have pictures, and this is something that's sort of a keepsake, but we put that book together. It took some of us, and now a lot of our cheesemakers have passed away, so for us to get any of the history of it.
Yeah.
So, okay, quickly, I gotta keep you on the move. This is some of the equipment that was used to cool the milk then as it progressed. And they could, you know, instead of taking it to the factory twice a day, they could take it once a day. But around here, I know my dad was a John Deere dealer, so I always went and dangled my feet in the water when he was working on machinery for the farmers. But they immersed their cans in like water, real cold water.
Okay.
So it wasn't done like this, because the milk would go in here and they would hook up a hose to it, and that one's a more sophisticated one. And one day I said, I'm sure the state of Wisconsin would frown on this because it's not real, you know, sanitary.
Yeah, right.
And there was a doctor, and he said, you know, I think we become too sterile because we can't kill the superbugs. Then there was a lady next to him, and she said, and I read that the Amish children never get sick because they play in the dirt. So I just quit right here. So, and you're gonna see this down in the little factory as we go, and this is more of the, where they separate the cream and the milk out. There's discs in there, and the milk goes in there, and then they separate it out, and that would be a holding tank, what you're gonna see down at the little factory. And this, actually, I call him Werner, and this is Martha Burnett. They were cheesemakers, and she's our little Swiss chick, and she's in her 90s, but we love her, and she was one of our volunteers.
Oh, okay.
So that, to me, is Werner, and this is Martha. And that was an old, really old, that's the way they made them, with the pot belly. This is Swiss cheese I'm talking about. So that's originally what people, but they've also made Limburger. A lot of them came and made Limburger. Okay. Now, as we progressed, then we got into this. One of our volunteers had 13 of these factories. He had 3 factories when he quit making cheese in '95. And he said that in the summertime, when the cows gave a lot of milk, he made 26 cheese a day, 7 days a week. Now we have big silos to hold that milk so that they can. And then when they get it dipped and, you know, hoisting it up with about 260 pounds of whey and curds, then it was put in this form, and then they had to turn it twice a day. I'm really talking, boy, I didn't know I could talk so fast. So anyway, the whey would drain out, and years ago, the farmers would bring milk cans, and they'd feed it to their hogs and their chickens. But today, that's no longer true, because with the whey powder and things, and also in your energy drinks and some of your cake mixes and different things, it's a byproduct now. Okay, then after they turn that cheese, and the next morning you got this cheese staring you in the face, and you got more cheese to make. So that had to go down in a brine tank, and it stayed for 3 days. And then they would take it to the warming cellar. This is just Swiss cheese. And then those cheese, because it was moist and warm in there, about 75 degrees, then they would have to take each of those cheese and rotate them, and they'd have a table in there, and one man would wash those cheese, and because it'd have a surface mold on it as it was forming the eyes and that. And then after that, because it was a raw milk product, they would move it into the cold cellar, and most cheese factories at that time were built into a hill, so they had natural air conditioning. But they would have to keep that cheese because it was a raw milk product for 60 days. Okay, then here we are with all this cheese, okay?
Yep.
So they would send out, we had 7 cheese buyers in the county, and they would send out a cheese grater, and this is a trier, and they would plug that cheese, draw it out, and if it had eyes the size of a nickel and were shiny, that would be a grade 8, and then they'd grade it down and they got paid accordingly.
Okay.
But
So it's just depending on the size of the hole.
yeah, you
Okay.
can see right
Yep.
there. Yeah, and so, and I won't go into all the grading, and now you should see our world champion, and even when they're at a state fair or anything, it is so competitive that if the world champion is a 99.8, the ones that are probably, I don't care if they're 20th, they maybe are like a 97 point something, but they're all up
So
there.
close.
So close. They have that right down pat. So that cheese was really hard to handle. And so millions of pounds of cheese went right out that door onto the railroad tracks, but it was when it was located on Smoky Road. But instead of rolling one out, this gave another person, they would take 4 of those cheese and they would put staves around it and band it, and then they could roll those out. So that was their way of getting
It's
them
easier
out
to do
into
it.
yeah. Then in the 1950s, they decided that was, you know, they went into this and started doing them in blocks. So they were easier to cut, and actually you had less waste because of that rind that was on the wheel Swiss. Now, do you know where cheddar cheese originates from?
No, I do not.
Okay, we're leaving the Swiss part. Well, I'm only half Swiss, and cheddar cheese comes from the little town of Cheddar up here on the western side of England, and below it is Dulverton, England, where the Clarks came from. So
Oh,
I
okay.
claim this side of the world too. And that's some of the, this is a cheddar press from the 1860s, so we were fortunate. That's a long time ago.
Yes,
And
it is.
Have you ever eaten white cheddar?
Yes, I have.
And it's good, isn't it?
Yes, it's phenomenal.
Well, guess what?
What?
In the Midwest, the only thing that's different about it, it's probably the same recipe, but there's some little secrets they aren't going to tell you. But here, just to differentiate, we put some annatto in it, which is a natural coloring. And you'll see their aprons all covered with orange, but this is the reason.
Oh, okay.
So you learned a little tidbit.
Learned a little. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I learned a lot.
Now, it's very sad because Baumgartner's is not open. And I'm in a depression over that.
Yeah.
So anyway, just north of Monroe, we have the only Limburger factory that actually sells retail. I know there's one Amish factory out in Ohio, and I think, you know, the Amish farmers, they're beautiful farms out there. But this is the one that still, because it's not the most popular cheese, they actually are in business to sell it. And so have you ever eaten it?
No, I have not.
You need to try it because it's very mild.
Okay.
But make sure you have it with rye bread, brown mustard, red onion.
Okay.
Nice beer.
What? Yeah, and beer to wash
Yep.
it down. There you go. So this is just some of the memorabilia that you would have found in a cheese factory. This was our thing that would cut the cheese too. And this actually, I forgot about the Babcock testing, which is the butterfat content in milk, and that's very important with the cheese industry. But those test tubes over there years ago, we had a lady that actually she went to the university out in Iowa and met her husband, who was Greek, but she invented this thing to clean and it was a dentist's thing that he used to use, and she just put the little brush on it so that she could use it for cleaning her test tubes. Okay, I think we're done. Shall we go down to the little factory?
Sure,
All right.
absolutely.
We got time? Did I take too
Yeah.
much time?
No, we got time.
You got time. Okay. But this would be Professor Babcock actually, and he discovered the Babcock test, which, you know, they still use today, but not with that kind of equipment.
Yeah. A little different.
Yeah, right. So we're gonna go down to the little factory, and I can let you go out this door, and I'll be right with you. I gotta get the key.
for the thousands of people tradition of salt.
And then they had quit making cheese in 1917. And we acquired this through Arnold M. Overstead. He donated it to us in honor of his mother and father, Anna and Alfred Overstead, who came here from Switzerland. And they made cheese here. This is a homestead factory, and then they would have a few of their neighbors that they'd bring in, and they could make 2 cheese a day.
Okay.
And so that's the way they pressed it. And we show a video, which you haven't got time to watch. And I'll just push it, and then people can see us making cheese here once a year.
Okay, cool.
With our master cheesemakers and our retired boys.
This is sweet. This is awesome.
Yeah, and this, it's all original equipment. And this jacket on it kept the cheese warm, and if this was full of whey and curds, I couldn't pull it out.
Okay.
In fact, I can't pull it out now. But this is how they would pull it out if you dip it and then put it on the hoist
Okay.
and carry it over there.
Yep.
Cheese factory.
So,
This was the phone.
and those, so this is our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right.
And give them your tagline.
What it was like.
Your motto is cheese.
Cheese is our culture. Cheese is our culture.
I love that.
So, thank you.
No, thank you.